today's generation has lost today's youth is sad. The mindset of today's generation, it is very heartbreaking to see. And you have to blame it on their peers. But the peers who they admire, we're also to blame because, if you take those from the late 80s, 90s, early 2000s, going into the late 2000s, the ones now who are hitting 30, 35 years old, I'm about to hit 30, so, I'm 29. Got 4 months before I'm 30. But you take the generation before us, from the 70s and 80s, we're all placed in a mindset of whatever environment that we're going to be placed in, and it's going to be drilled into us at an early age that it's cool to run the streets, it's cool to be a gangster, that it's cool to be a thug, it's cool to sell drugs, it's going to be cool to kill people, and you're going to think you can act out and that you're not going to have any consequences to your actions. You're going to be able to think that you can defend what your actions were and thinking that there's not going to be any repercussions behind everything. There's going to be repercussions behind whatever it is that you do in life. There's going to be consequences. Along with that, we learned from their mistakes. We kind of repeated those patterns, but then also made new mistakes that we wanted today's generation to learn. Every 5 years there's a generation gap. Every 10 years it's another decade. And going into the third decade for myself, I'm starting to see now that I'm a lot older, a lot of less leadership, a lot of less knowledge in this world, and with today's youth, it's very, very disappointing to see, because how can you defend somebody's actions at 15 years old who chooses to kill someone, and then you're like, free them, because you don't know the mindset of that individual. As far as they're concerned, they could have been trying to set up you, and it's very sad to see that. People want to give backlash on the Don't Feel Bad for TK video I did. The brother's 15 years old, man. He's very lost, very uneducated. But you know what? No one pointed a gun to his head and say, you should rob this person. No. I believe everyone chooses their actions and chooses their way in life that they do. You have the choice to make something good or bad. He decided to choose his. Okay, I understand he got sentenced for pretty much a life sentence. Now, he may have not been the person to pull the trigger in the second robbery, but that still means you are affiliated with a murder, because you still had a part to play on that, regardless if it was an accidental death. And being sentenced to first-degree murder, that's a life sentence. Yeah, he's still fighting his first murder case. They have it on video. Yeah, he pulled the trigger. He chose to do that. He could have chose not to, but he did. One thing I would never understand with today's youth and today's generation, when they say free somebody, one of their friends who was involved in a senseless robbery with a fatal shooting that happened. It's like with YB O'Malley. I grew up around people like him before. I grew out of that. I also know the mindset of people like that. Within my 29 years of being on this earth and about to hit my third decade of being alive, You know, again, I don't know who will see this live, but I will leave it up for rebroadcast. But I've seen a lot of shit that caused me to have mental issues, that caused me to go to therapy, that caused me to have certain PTSD. And I gained a lot of knowledge now with me being in my older years. And again, I'm using YB All Melly as an example. You're gonna get teardrops and tattoos of your friends' names and dedicate a documentary to them after they killed and shot. You mention it in a song, pretty much self-snitching on yourself. You smile at the camera. Inside the mindset of somebody like that was planned out for him to kill his own friends. You say free somebody like that. If it was a friend that you knew that would kill somebody, you say free them, right? You don't know what their mindset is, because as far as they're concerned, they could have been planning to kill you next. And I've seen shit like that. Like, we all have our different groups of friends in life. And I remember having friends who did some things and they turned amongst their own friends because whatever was going on inside their mindset. And so you mean to tell me that it's okay to defend somebody's actions for murder? They have no justification, no motive behind it. So yeah, there's no need to feel bad for TK. There's not. He was involved. Like, okay, if you do a robbery, you're gonna have a getaway driver. You're gonna have two other people with guns. You're gonna have one that's gonna be collecting the money. The plan is to get out, get in. There's no planning in killing somebody during a robbery. Most cases, there's going to be a shooting. You may have not been one to pull the trigger, but you're still as responsible for the shoot, because you still play a part in it. Yeah, I used to be part of a lot of different shit. I had partners who actually shot some people up on the highway before. I may have not been around when it was happening, but I was still associated with that game when it took place. That's 15, 16 years ago. I answered for my half. But it's sad because today's youth is misleaded because now there's no more education. You have people looking up to Chief Keef thinking it's okay to have multiple baby mothers and not be a responsible father. You have today's youth looking up to their peers like Little Pump and thinking it's okay to be a crackhead, it's okay to do drugs, it's okay to shoot yourself up with heroin. It's not okay. That shit leads to death. You have today's generation thinking it's okay to pull the trigger to kill someone without no motive and thinking there's not going to be any repercussions to your actions. You thinking it's cool to go to prison and do time and waste your life away. That shit ain't cool. I see what happens to little niggas like that in prison. I done time 3 times before. I seen what happens to niggas like that. With that type of mindset. They want to be on the rah-rah gang shit. But when actual OGs approach them in the penitentiary system to see what they own, it don't end well. A good majority of them little niggas like TK get raped in the ass because of that shit. They become somebody's bitch in the penitentiary. They get passed around like a pack of cigarettes. They don't think it's cool then. But why is this generation now so lost to where education doesn't mean nothing to them? It is not okay to really follow in those. Now, I understand I may troll a little bit, but that's just for fun. And you have to separate reality from entertainment. You know, us as black people in the black community, man, the most within today's generation, just because you're put in a bad environment doesn't mean you have to follow that trend that comes along with it in life. It's okay to grow beyond one's expectations and one's knowledge. It's okay to grow beyond those things, because that shows that you have a peace of mind. And without having a peace of mind and without having education, then this generation is completely doomed. And again, why would you say free somebody if they had no motivation for the crimes that they have committed? For some people, they can't learn the easy way. Some may have to learn the hard way. But today's generation, it is completely sad to see that. It's completely sad. Now, me, a lot of the older generation, like I said, I'm 29, 4 months before I'm 30 years old. They look up to me and they say, and they go, oh, hey, he don't know what he's talking about. I've been around the block so many times in my life. When I first hit the age of 25 years old, about so many years ago, I cried because I was never supposed to live to see that age. I was not even supposed to live to see the age of 18 when I hit 18, because of the environment I was placed in. A lot of people now, because I grew beyond my expectations, because I had to prove many people wrong, I get looked at like a demon, if you will. Like, this don't make sense. You know, just because somebody is born a crack baby like I was, just because somebody was put in special education systems like I was, we're supposed to be set up for failure. Well, there would be some things I made the choice to change, because if I didn't, I would be face down. I would be laying in the ground 6 feet under if I didn't. Some people are going to be used as puppets. Some people are not made for what comes with the street shit. I want to use Chief Keef, man. There's an old interview, and what I seen is really disgusting. What I seen in this old Chief Keef interview, and it wasn't with Chief Keef exactly. It was with his mother. I don't know if the video is still up or not. But again, the reason why I'm saying today's generation is so lost is because it's something that I have seen, and it makes me very upset. If you have a child, and your child's friend and the mother are having relations, that shit ain't nothing to fucking brag about. I feel like it's also the parents' responsibility to take action within your child's life. Because if parents were actually there, these kids wouldn't be where they are now. So I cannot feel bad for Tay K. He chose what he chose to do. I'm not a believer in God. I am a believer in faith and in destiny. If it is your faith and in your destiny for you to go do life in prison, by all means, that you chose that. No one chose that for you. You chose that to do it yourself. Seeing that and thinking back on the shit that I did, yes, I chose to do those things because at a time and place in my life, yes, I thought it was cool. Yes, I felt like I had no other options in life. But as I got older, I saw that what's placed in front of us is lies. It ain't like in the movies. I'm sorry, it don't work like that. You only get one life to live. And freedom to do what you're able to do, whatever it is, we take that for granted as human beings. We take a lot of that for granted. Because what we have, we can lose like that, and it's gone. And then when you find yourself in a small ass room with no windows, the doors automatically lock, you only get an hour of rec, 15 minutes of shower time, disgusting food, having to wake up at a certain time, having to go to bed at a certain time, you're going to be saying to yourself, man, it wasn't worth it. Because now I can't do the things that I was able to do when I was out in the free world. It was my third time that really what really made me change. Because for people who have never been locked up before and did time, the showers that you're placed in, they're shaped like a size of a casket. It is that small inside, and when you're inside there, it's dark. And I started thinking about a lot of shit. What made me change. And then I said to myself, this is going to be me dead if I do not change. I answered for my stuff that I did. I'm not perfect. But, I say the things that I say because I use my knowledge and my experiences to share with people on social media, like my YouTube channel, Cheddar Terry 931 channel. I speak a lot of knowledge on that. I may not have the biggest platform, I may not have the biggest following, I may not get the biggest amount of views, but I have a message and a voice because I want to teach people that you can grow beyond what you're placed in life. So, there's no need to feel bad for TK. Like somebody commented on my Twitter video about the video that I posted saying, oh man, this is some dumb shit. You sound retarded, man. You sound dumb. No, little nigga. You're the one that's sounding stupid. You're trying to defend somebody's actions that had no motive. You thinking it's cool to sit down for 100 years in prison. That's a life sentence. That's a life sentence. You thinking it's cool to sit down for 100 years in prison? You thinking just because you do or what you say? Oh, today's generation thinks you now have to live your raps. You don't have to live your raps with what people say. You don't have to live it. It can be entertainment, but you don't have to live it. You ain't gotta go down that path. You don't. But today's generation think, man, in order to be a real gangster, you must now have to live your raps and go do time in prison. See, that's the part that fucks up a lot of their careers. Because we live in the microwave era of music, or the fast food era of music. Somebody new comes along, okay, people listen to them, they fuck with them, and then when they get locked up, they're like, oh, well, that was on some dumb shit, but let's hop on to the next person. Then they do something, then they get put away, then they hop on to the next person. It's a repeated cycle. Within the next 5 years, ain't nobody really gonna give a fuck or remember that person that went away. Some people, for most still have that, I guess, that strong character of presence when they get out that can still hold people's attention, depending if that person's connects are good. Like Gucci, he went away for years, in and out. And reason why he was still so much on top and still relevant is because he's like, you know what, I might be sitting down for a while, but I still have to work. And that's what he did. Because if you ain't working, you ain't gonna get paid, which means you ain't gonna eat. You know, it's a sad thing to see. And again, some people have to learn the hard way. You know, I spoke about Kodak Black several times in some videos I did. And he does a lot of that himself. You know, you take somebody like Kodak Black, who I've seen before. You know, not Kodak Black specifically, but people like him. He chooses to eat drugs in the outside world, but when he gets locked up, he chooses to eat proper foods, even though it is a lot more easier within the system to get your hands on drugs than it is on the outside world. And you feed somebody like that money, and it's just going to feed their bad habits. You know, Kodak's going to be sitting down for a long time. It ain't going to hit him until his mother loses her place, her car that Kodak Black, or, you know, Kodak, you know, put his mom in a house. Kodak bought his mom a car, so she ain't got to work. But once all that is gone because he ain't working and he's sitting down for a long time, and when his mother loses that stuff, and when Kodak has to lose everything that he bought so far, because that stuff has to be sold and auctioned off for him to pay for a lawyer or put some money on his books to get commissary, it ain't gonna be funny then, because that's when shit really gonna hit you, like really super hard. Because no one wants to see their mother working a dead-end job, happen to walk to work every day, happen to catch the bus every day, happen to live in government housing. No one wants to see that. It's like Bobby Shmurda. His whole mindset changed once he seen his mother lose everything that he got her. Everything. And a lot of that has to do with the mindset, and you also have to cut the people off around you or in your circle. Because if they ain't doing shit for you, then what's the point? And that's one of the things, again, that this generation is so backwards with. If you choose to do something, if you're the main head, if you're the main top guy that's getting paid and getting money, if you get in trouble for something, it's up to your partners who are lower than you to take the rap. That way you can make sure that they're going to be good while they locked up. But today's generation has it ass backwards, if you will. If I'm the guy that's getting paid, taking care of these people, they ain't doing shit for me, and I get locked up, I can't do shit for y'all. Just like I can't do shit for myself if I'm locked up. And that's the problem with today's generation, is they thinking, okay, well, our head honcho has to go away so we can still be taken care of. It doesn't make sense. A good majority of this generation likes their leaders or the people they look up to or their peers or who they look up to, so they can get locked up so they now can get some money. You know, it's all about getting rid of the threat. And you know, you can't depend on one person your entire life to eat with, man. You have to go out there and make them choices and decisions on your own. And, you know, it's like my ex-partner. I had to get rid of him because of his shit. And I said so many times in the video when it came to exposing him, because I keep documentations of whatever happens. You know, I keep documentations of whatever happens, and he's not a man because he chooses to live off his wife. You know, you have to be able to make money on your own and not live off your partner or your significant other. You know, to me, you're not a real man or a real gangster if you can't speak for yourself, if you can't talk for yourself, if you can't fight your own fights because you have to hide behind people to do it for you, or you have to have people to talk and speak for you. To me, they ain't being a real gangster. They ain't being a real man either. You know, and I never had people to talk for me. I never had people to fight for me. I had to do that myself. And at times it might be hard for me to stand up for the little guy at times, man, because I never had much people who ever really stood up for me. But if I see something that really pisses me off and somebody's really getting picked on about something, then yeah, I'm going to stand up and speak for them. And when I do that, I know a lot of people may say, well, I'm not a very nice person when I get upset. Yeah, that might be true, but when I get that way, I'm calm about it, which is dangerous. And I don't say that part to brag. I say that because as a person with, special needs and disability type of issues, that goes into mental issues that makes it dangerous for myself. I remember blacking out on my father because of how abusive he is or was, and how I would get mistreated and what that led me to do. I ain't gonna say stuff that happened with that because I spoke about it too many times before. And it's okay to want to grow beyond your expectations, but don't expect for your consequences and your actions to be championed if you can't take responsibility for what it is that you do. Don't try to take any bargain deals or any plea deals when you find yourself in court, because you chose to do those things to land you there. And the toughest guys and the hardest people that I've seen that end up in those predicaments, they are literally the first ones to break down and want to cop out. Real shit. Real shit. And they're going to be the first ones that have to do a write-in when they get sent in. Those that don't know what a write-in is, you write a note to one of the guards and you pass it to them. Or it's also known as a check-in. And those notes are going to be, well, I'm scared for my life, so move me to a safer unit or into isolation. Because they're scared. That's what a write-in or a check-in stands for in the penitentiary system. And I've seen some of the biggest guys like Chief Keef, some of the biggest guys like Tay K, who think they some hard-ass people, do check-ins, do write-ins because they scared. Tay K just got violated in juvenile hall for starting a gang called the Rugrats. And now, with him being sentenced, he's gonna have a lot of serious gang shit coming his way, man. You gotta be prepared to protect yourself, because if you let anybody walk up in your cell to check you, to take your shit, then that's gonna show everybody in the penitentiary system that you can be walked on. I seen that. When it comes time to fight, you're gonna have to have them sneakers on, them Air Force Ones. You're gonna have to have a shank with you. You're gonna have to hold your own. To show that you're gonna have to be about it, because the old street regulation rules, they still require in the penitentiary system. If you caught snitching, or known as a snitch, you done for. Now, today's generation, they don't mind snitching, they don't mind telling, but there's a level between being a snitch and being a citizen, or a good Samaritan citizen. The difference is, if you're somebody that claims they selling drugs, who's been locked up, who's a gangster who shot people, but you're out there and want to be around places with high security, or if you're talking to somebody that is an officer, regardless if it has anything to do with snitching or not, that's still considered being a snitch, because you're still talking to them regardless. A good Samaritan citizen has the right to call the cops because they work 9-to-5 jobs, they pay taxes, and they're not involved in street shit. That's the difference. That is the utmost difference. In my mindset today, I'm gonna say this: I'm not finna waste my life or sit down for anybody. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not. So if somebody wants to get the cops involved, go ahead, because I will defend myself the best way I can when I get questioned. And I'm going to have some kind of evidence or proof to back up what I'm saying. And I wish I'd done that before in the past, because there were times where I got locked up just for self-defense reasons. Those that don't know, down here in the South, in the state of Tennessee, if you choose to defend yourself in a situation to where you're being attacked, you will get locked up. And they will let the attacker go, which is very messed up. But that's how life goes. You know, I remember situations where I was on the opposite end of the gun. You know, with little niggas like TK. And I don't want to incriminate myself, because I'm not going to say some things, because that shit can come back on me, even if I didn't get busted for it. Or, I don't want to say busted. That's not the word I want to use. If I didn't get in trouble for it. Let's just say, because, you know, yes, my father was abusive, but, yes, I'm a military brat, because he did serve in the war. And he did train me to use certain firearms and defend myself. But, you know, again, I found myself on the opposite end several times of a gun. When little niggas like TK tried to rob people, you know, try to rob somebody like me. I'm just going to say this. It didn't end well for them. I remember an incident 3 years ago. A girl that I was messing with tried to set me up and rob me, and a couple of her friends were with her. I'm not going to say what happened, but I believe in karma. You know, what comes around, you know, what goes around comes around. And she ended up getting hers along with her and her friends. I know some people, female or female, that will hear this part. If you are a guy and a girl tries to hurt you, you have the right to defend yourself. I have seen guys get locked up over their spouse hurting them. I have seen guys get locked up when their girlfriends try to kill them or hit them, and the guy chose not to defend himself, but he still got arrested for it. And yeah, it could be a sexist thing. You know, those that don't know what sexist is, it's kind of like racism a little bit, but not with black or white. It has something to do with gender. Again, if you're a guy and if you're a girl that does try to hurt you or try to kill you, by all means, you have the right to defend yourself. The same thing with a woman. If you're a woman who's with a guy who tries to hurt you or kill you, you have the right to defend yourself. You do. I believe in my Third Amendment law, I believe it is, to bear arms, to believe in self-defense. I do. I believe in that. I strongly do. The same thing, if somebody tries to break into your home and tries to cause harm to you, you have the right to defend yourself. So if a little nigga like TK and his crew, and this is just an example right here, a little nigga like TK and his crew, because they made the choice to try to rob me, to break in my place, there's a good chance I'm gonna lay them down first before they get me. Again, I go through certain PTSD in my life because of things that I have seen and I've experienced. I remember one time there was a guy that beat his girlfriend, and it was just me and mom, and we were home alone. He knocked on the door violently saying, "Can we use the phone?" Oh no, can I use the phone? Can I use the phone? Well, he tried to break in. Moms grabbed her gun and shot through the door. And he ran into the woods. Yes, the cops showed up. They questioned and they said, yes, we've been on the look for this guy because he has a record of trying to do these things. And I guess he just didn't beat his girlfriend. He actually ended up killing her. So, yeah. Again, if you choose, if you choose to be a gangster and a thug out in the streets, then you have to be prepared for the gangster and thug consequences of those actions. Real talk. Real fucking talk. Like, it's like Book. I don't know how many people, I'm pretty sure everyone who may see this is familiar with Book, who yells out Boot Gang and shit. If you look into his backstory, he chose to be a middle school dropout. He grew up with both parents. He grew up in a white community in the suburbs, right? But still chose to do stupid shit because of his influences around him and outside of his own comfort zone. Now, there was a video that just surfaced a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. One guy just hit him so damn hard, pow, yeah, that one hit broke Book's jaw because Book doesn't know when to shut up. That's why his jaw and face is wired shut. Okay, because he wants to be a gangster. He wasn't prepared for gangster shit. It's like that old saying, man. If you throw glass stones and live in a glass house, then you have a glass jaw and you should watch your mouth. 50 Cent said that best. And as you see, Book had a glass jaw. One hit broke his whole fucking jaw to where now he has to be 6 weeks to almost 2 months of being wired shut. So yeah, what I'm saying, I'm giving knowledge and giving education because this will be left up as a rebroadcast. I will actually upload this on my channel as well. Just because you grow up in an environment that's bad doesn't mean you can't grow beyond the expectation. It's like Tupac. I like Pac, but Pac was a bit of a hypocrite. He would say some really educated shit. He would show the education of what he was speaking because he would practice what he spoke. But at times he would do the hypocritical part and do some fuck shit that landed him in trouble. Again, it's called karma, and I'm a spiritual person, so I believe in energy. The energy that you put out in this world can actually come into existence and come right back to you. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It can come right back to you, whatever you put out. So, because of that, I think that today's generation needs leaders, older peers to say, hey, don't be doing this. This is what you should be doing. Don't follow the examples of these clowns. Because you know where they're going to end up at? They're going to end up in two places. Locked up, and they're going to end up dead because of their actions. You want to be like the businessman over here in a suit and tie. Want to know why? He owns a house, vehicles, a business, a building in the city, and he has millions of dollars in his bank account. Plus, he can afford to send his kids to good schools to get education. Don't be the clowns that are going to end up somewhere. When I mean end up somewhere, the clowns who do stupid shit, they're going to receive bad consequences. You want to be the smart one. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be different. It's okay to stick out. You don't have to follow by a crowd. You don't. It's okay to be very different in life. It's alright. It's okay. I know a couple of people who are nerds, man, who are more black and more African American than me. They straight up nerds because they chose to be different. They may have got picked on for it, but they didn't let that bother them. And you know where some of them are at? They doing pretty damn well for themselves. Really well. Because they didn't choose to follow the stupidities that would leave you in prison or dead. You know, I grew up in poverty. It took me 3 decades to change. That's okay, because no matter how old you get in life, you're still growing. You're still learning. and you're gonna see things for what they are. I remember I had a breakdown behind the off screen from a video I did about when I received my fake diploma in high school. I let a lot of people down because I didn't know that it was fake. I didn't know that I was considered a dropout. I am sorry that I let people down when it came to that, but where I'm at now, I can move past it because I see what the education system really was for somebody like me. It was a joke. It was a complete joke. And I keep that fake diploma as a reminder to say, you know what? I grew beyond these people's expectations, and they can't stand me now. I may not be everyone's cup of tea. I may not be, but I may not be for everybody. I get it. A lot of people may not like me. I get it. I know I may preach a lot. I don't mean to, but I do it because I have knowledge and education I want to share, to where I hope I may motivate somebody else to do the right thing in life. See, again, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I may not be somebody that people may want to be friends with, but if anything, I'm the person that somebody could come to and they can talk. I'm somebody who they can come over to my place because I'm going to make you feel welcomed. You're going to feel safe. I'm going to be the one to make sure nothing's going to happen to you. And somebody said that, like somebody who's an artist here, just like I am, he said, Cheddar may not be everyone's choice of beverage, if you will. He may not be everyone's go-to person, but he grows on you, and you're going to see how knowledgeable he is. He's very artistic with what he does in his music, and if you listen to him, you can learn something from him. So it's okay to grow. And I see now that I made the decision to now share my knowledge for today's generation, because seeing the shit that I read with people saying free TK who are at his age and a bit younger, that's sad to see. That's very sad to see. He chose his actions, and now that little 15-year-old, when he gets 18 in the next 16, 17, 18, within the next 3 years of his life, that brother gonna go away. So seeing today's generation say these things is very sad. You can grow beyond your expectations, man. I did. And like I said, when I hit, several years ago, when I hit the age of 25, I cried because I knew I wasn't supposed to be alive. Plus I have a saying, the path you walk in life is the path you choose. The bed you make in life is the path, the bed you make in life is the bed you have to lay in. Seeing the comments that I see, you don't know what somebody's mindset is, because far as I'm concerned, if they were to get away with murder, there's no telling, because they could come around and turn on you and kill you next. Real fucking shit. To give some dark examples, I had a uncle. He didn't have kids of his own. He was handicapped. He couldn't move. And he didn't care much for the other cousins in the family because of their mother. I was the only one. Of course, he knew how my parents were, but he didn't trust the others to leave them anything. He left stuff to me, and the woman that he was with didn't. And the woman that he was with, as a side note, she was a care practitioner, somebody who took care of the crippled people who need help bathing and eating. And she didn't take care of him. She let him lay in his own feces. None of the family knew about this because they were way down in Texas. One day there was a phone call. He mysteriously passed away. There was a phone call, so all of a sudden, he passes away. My aunt and my uncle went down to the morgue to identify him. By the time they were making the funeral arrangements with the woke and burial, the woman that he was with never bothered to show up. By the time they decided to go to the house, she was long gone. I do believe that she killed him. You just don't up and disappear like that. Just like another uncle who was diagnosed with hepatitis C many years ago. People say you can die from that, but there's a lot of people still walking around with that disease who are very much alive. One day, he's just dead. No, it don't work that way. Because he was laying in the hospital. And she was the last person to see him. Then she disappears with his stuff in his apartment. He didn't have much. He was very, 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 very poor. I do know what happened to her after that. I'm not going to say. I do know what happened, and yeah. So again, you don't know what the mindset of somebody is when you're with them. And that's what today's young people get confused. It's all gang, and all fun and games until it comes to some shit. And I guarantee you, your homies are going to leave you standing. Yeah, let me know how fun it is then. So yeah, today's generation, man, they're very lost, especially for a lot of stupidity shit that I see in these comments that we see on social media. And it hurts me to see this. It hurts me, especially as a black man. Like I said, I'm mixed very heavily with a lot of things. Cherokee, Jamaican, South African, Egyptian, and Italian. People that would see my mother, and I have pictures of my mother in her younger years. She is more dark-skinned than I am. Her father's black. So it hurts me as a black man to see a lot of these comments. And you wonder why white media and white society makes us out to be quote-unquote coons. It's because of the things we say. You wonder why we get laughed at on social media. It's because of our actions, what we do. And you wonder why we get called animals. Because we don't have leaders. What we did with our leaders, we said, we don't want you all no more. Let's get them out of here. Because of stupidity. Yeah. We choose to get rid of our leaders here in America. Let's do the same thing to the motherfuckers over in Africa. Yeah, believe it or not, before Christopher Columbus, we had our own slaves. Didn't bitch about it then, did you? But you want to start bitching about it now. I know this is going on longer than I want it to be. I know I'm sounding preachy as hell. But I just want to share this knowledge, man. I want to share this common knowledge. Knowledge is important. Learning is important. It is. Don't let somebody tell you otherwise. If they do, it's because they don't want better for themselves. It's like me. I had a very strong effect on this little kid before. He about, I don't know, high school now. I used to babysit him, and I used to fuck with his moms, quote unquote. Those that see this who catch my drift. Now I'm gonna say I used to fuck this guy's mom. I was babysitting, you know, shit. And a lot of things that he would post on social media and shit that he would say to me, I didn't want to hear it. I had to correct him. His mother didn't like the things he was saying. And so I had to talk to him and say, look, man, you know where that's going to lead you at? Because he would just say a lot of stupid shit. But now, you know, he doesn't say that. He doesn't claim a lot of things that he was saying because he never did them. He's playing football now, and he works out. And his nose are in the books. So he managed to, I'm hoping that he stays on the right track. I'm hoping that he still continues to grow and grow beyond his expectations. Real talk. I think I'm gonna call out the Migos on this one. Them niggas is not part of this generation. They my age. They 30 years old. They my age. They should know better with the shit that they say and the actions that they do. They should know better. And none of them motherfuckers were brought up in the hood. No, they were brought up in safe, white, urban communities. So why say the shit that you're saying? They were brought up with both parents. They went to good schools. Honestly, again, it's because they chose to be stupid. I'm just going to say they chose to be stupid. And when you have so much money around you and a lot of people bringing you drugs, you're going to end up talking nonsense like they are. They should know better. But they came and went, if you ask me. You know, money ain't, you know, it's good to have money, but money ain't everything either. They grew up listening to the same amount of music as I listened to coming up. And them to say the shit about like Bone Thugs and Harmony, they grew up listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony. They did. They was like, man, let's have a bankroll challenge. It ain't about how big your bankroll is, it's about how good your skill is. If it wasn't for Bone Thugs, Migos wouldn't exist. So, you know, again, today's generation, man, is very lost. I just had to, I had to comment on somebody wanted to say on the Twitter post that I posted about with one of my YouTube videos like this. And you can tell this was a young cat. He don't know better yet. But as an older peer, I gotta lay it to him. And that's what I did. You know, it's only one comment back, and I don't really comment back anyways at all. When he gets older, I hope that he sees, you know, what people were talking about. And, you know, you're gonna want best for you. You gotta have, you wanna have what's best for you. It's alright to have knowledge, man. It's okay. It's also okay at times to be on some stupid shit. It is, because that way you're letting off some steam. Now, you don't want to do nothing too stupid to where it's going to get you in trouble. You don't. And if you feel like you have to turn up and pop off on somebody at times, again, it's okay to do it. Just don't take it to where you're going to get arrested. Because it ain't worth it. It is not worth it at all. So, with that being said, man, I'm out. And I'm leaving this up as a rebroadcast. So anybody that sees this after, I hope people understand my mindset and where I'm coming from.